Jared Allen almost sent this game to overtime, but almost doesn't count. The Bucks are now winners of 8 of their last 10 games. Are you believing? Are you catching Bucks fever?
You are Locked On Bucks, your daily Milwaukee Bucks podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
What it do, y'all? Welcome to Locked On Bucks, part of the Locked On Podcast Network. Now, the #1 sports podcast network in the industry. Your team every day. I'm Camille Davis. Had to bring the vocals out in the cold open there. I'm an NBA analyst with the Locked On Network and co-host of the Technical Foul podcast. Joining me is Frank Madden, longtime voice of the pod and the founder of BrewHoop.com. And we appreciate you for tuning in and making Locked On Bucks your first listen every day. You can catch the podcast free and available wherever you get your podcast, as well as on YouTube. And have your cake and drink it too. Birthday cake flavor is back. No fork needed. Vanilla cakey flavor, a caffeinated kick, and no sugar. It's party time. So order now at 5hourenergy.com or Amazon. And on today's show, listen, the Bucks found a way to escape with the victory in Fiserv Forum against the Cleveland Cavaliers, 118-116, and the Bucks are now 8-2 over their last 10 games. So we're going to explore the question: is this a team that you can believe in? Has this Bucks team really turned the corner now, especially getting all these wins without Giannis being in the lineup? We'll also take a look at key contributors in this game for this win on the second night of a back-to-back for the Bucks. But we have to start with the ending, the fourth quarter and the crazy finish to this game. I thought there were actually a few similarities to last night's game against Miami. So we'll just start with some of the biggest contributors to the victory tonight, because in the fourth quarter, similar to Miami, it was Kevin Porter Jr. and it was Ryan Rollins down the stretch of this game taking the Bucks home. But a difference, Jericho Sims was also a really, really big part of the Bucks finding a way to come up with a victory in this game in the fourth quarter. Jericho Sims played the entire fourth quarter. Meanwhile, KPJ and Ryan Rollins played most of it, I think a little bit over 10 minutes apiece in the fourth quarter to bring this game home. Frank, what stood out to you in the Bucks escaping with victory today against the Cleveland Cavaliers?
Well, this had all the hallmarks of one of those early season frustrating Bucks losses because they shot the hell out of the ball. Let's see, what did they end up? I remember midway through the fourth quarter, they were like plus 21 from 3-point range. Let me figure out where they landed. They were
19 of 45 from three. They made 7 more threes than the Cavs.
Yeah, so plus 21 from three. But look at some of these other numbers, right?
Mhm.
The starters took 1 free throw combined. Bucks were 3 of 5 overall. Cleveland had 22 more free throw attempts. Cleveland had 16 offensive rebounds compared to just 8 for the Bucks. The turnovers at least were not a huge issue, but still 13-11 Bucks had more turnovers. So the issue that we always, talked about, the math game problem, was very much a problem here today. Cavs took 1 fewer shot from the field, but 22 more free throws. So way more bites at the apple for the Cavs than the Bucks, and both teams were up in the 120s in terms of offensive rating. So I just felt like, especially after Cleveland came back after the Bucks had stretched out the lead in the third quarter, it just felt like, this is just gonna go back and forth. And it's like, if either team can get stops, like we saw against Miami, conveniently the Bucks just held the Heat without a field goal for 6 minutes. Like, okay, that would be a pretty good button to tap, right? Doc, dial up the hold the opponent without a field goal for 6 minutes defense. But yeah, I mean, I think it came down, as you said, like KPJ, Rollins, they just kind of made some plays off the dribble, ISO, pick and roll. We saw Sims, roll down the middle hard a couple times, get alley-oops. We saw another time where Ryan Rollins stuck with an offensive rebound he didn't get, and he basically stripped the ball loose, and Jericho Sims, look what I found, ends up dunking the ball. So, it wasn't always like exactly, the most beautiful offense, I would say. I think there was one point in the game where Doc was really pissed and called a timeout because they basically weren't running the sets that he had called. But again, like the players that they've come to rely on, namely Rollins and KPJ, they made big shots. Rollins had, again, like his turnovers have been problematic of late. He had another series of live ball turnovers tonight. He's around 4 turnovers per game. In February, he was a little over 2 for the rest of the season coming in. Obviously, some of this is just the fact that he's scoring a ton. He's over 22 points a game. KPJ is at 22 points a game this month. They've been great. They've done what you needed them to do from a scoring perspective. And KPJ, again, like, Marcus often talks about his like D-cell, herky jerky, sort of style of play. And he hits a lot of very weird, difficult, kind of mid-range, 1 foot off balance type shots. And that was the game winner tonight. There was no beautiful execution on that game winning shot. It was just KPJ creating a shot, not a great shot, and making a great shot, as we've seen him do pretty regularly. He's shooting 22% from 3 in the calendar year 2026, and he's still scoring at a high rate efficiently, which is very strange, but you got to give him a lot of credit. They absolutely need him to be an offensive force, and he's been that. And then again, fittingly, it kind of makes sense, Camille, that the Bucks would almost be sent to overtime on what? On offensive rebound. And thankfully it was, 0.1, 0.2 seconds, whatever it ultimately ended up being, after the buzzer sounded with the ball clearly in Jared Allen's hands, as he released it. So I wouldn't say almost. I got very nervous too because they put in Bobby Portis for offense on the final possession. They obviously score. Cleveland goes wisely without a timeout. I don't know if they had a timeout. I think they did. But they said, let's attack the Bucks without letting them get to set their defense, without letting them put in any subs. So Bobby Portis is out there, and sure enough, I think he got ISO'd against Schroeder, who had a huge night, but just could not get the shot to go. And fortunately, it took a little bit too long to get to Jared Allen and for him to ultimately get that shot off. So
thankfully,
is it a great, is it like a high quality win against the Cavs team that was missing James Harden, Donovan Mitchell, Evan Mobley? Okay, no. But it's a big win. It's an important win for this team to kind of just keep, again, get aboard the train. The Bucks are trying to win games. If you don't like it, don't watch. So it was an important win, obviously, and being able to stack wins here back to back against the Heat, who obviously are a little bit ahead of the Bucks, and Cleveland, which has opened up a bit more of a lead there. They came in 37-23. So I mean, they're not, like in any threat to be caught by the Bucks, but they've had obviously a bit of a weird season. But obviously a good team. They've been playing good basketball for quite some time. And, I think we saw like they have the infrastructure and they have the depth to, they're not going to roll over, and they didn't.
Yeah, absolutely. And to your point about just KPJ and Ryan Rollins, I mean, KPJ finished with a team high 20 points. Ryan Rollins had 18, and Jericho Sims had a double-double, 11 points, 11 rebounds in this game. And 7 of Jericho Sims' points actually came in the fourth quarter. And 5 of the rebounds came in the fourth quarter too. So he was just finding ways to impact it. I also love the play that Ryan Rollins had in the fourth quarter where he forced that turnover on Dennis Schroeder, where they challenged him like, no, it's a foul. He got pushed out of bounds. And it's like, he just got crowded. He got crowded. Rollins poked at the ball and Schroeder lost it. And it's Bucks ball going forward. So really enjoyed just the grittiness and them finding a way. Even though it wasn't pretty at times, they found a way. And the thing about the fourth quarter that I was most impressed by was the fact that they finally limited second chance points somewhat in that fourth quarter. It was even 2-2 Bucks and Cavs. And through the first 3 quarters, the Cavs were winning that race handedly. They had 23 second chance points to the Bucks 4. But again, as you pointed out, when you're getting so many offensive rebounds up to the other team, that tends to happen. I'll also say that I agree with you on this being a big win. Listen, it doesn't have to be a good win. It doesn't have to be a pretty win. The Bucks just have to find ways to continue winning if they really do want to find themselves in that play-in picture. And they've been showing some growth in that way. So it has been kind of fun to watch this team and them getting excited down the stretch. But outside of KPJ and Ryan Rollins and Jericho Sims. There were some other guys that made some big contributions to this team. And Myles Turner got some more playing time, although he didn't play that much in the fourth quarter, similar to Miami. Found a way to contribute to this game. So we'll be highlighting some of those guys right after this. Welcome to the 5-hour energy flavor draft. With 18 different flavors to choose from, including new options like confetti craze and fruity rainbow or cotton candy, there is something for everyone. With the board being set and the flavors being ready, I have my number one pick for the 5-hour energy flavor draft. And for me, no questions asked, the number one pick has to be sour apple, because it's the apple flavor that bites back. It has such a crisp and tangy taste while also being deliciously tart. It's bold, but it has a little sweetness to it. Plus, it has a lot of sour. But I would also say that a sleeper pick would have to be cotton candy, because I personally have a really bad sweet tooth, and this flavor gives you a little bit of that sweet tooth fix, but without any of the sugar guilt. It's a delicious swirl of like sugary clouds with a fruity twist and then a hint of vanilla at the end. It's just super light, really airy profile. And it also kind of gives you a nostalgic carnival style taste. So 5-hour energy shots, they give you a boost with zero sugar. Find your new flavor of 5-hour energy shots available online at 5hourenergy.com or Amazon. This episode is also brought to you by Game Time, because there is nothing quite like being in an NBA arena. The crowd, the energy, the moment. Like, even Fiserv has been alive during this home stretch for the Bucks here. And getting tickets, sometimes that can't be super simple. It can be frustrating at times. And that's why Game Time has become the go-to app for scoring tickets fast without all the hassle. It puts the advantage back where it belongs, and that is with the fans. Personally, what I love about Game Time is seeing the all-in price up front. There are no surprise fees at checkout, and being able to view the seat before buying can always make my decision even easier. And I like easy. Great last minute options too. NBA tickets can show up at really, really solid prices, and everything feels quick, intuitive, and stress-free from start to finish. So take the guesswork out of buying NBA tickets with Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use the code LOCKED ON for $20 off of your first purchase. That is code LOCKEDON for $20 off. Download the Game Time app today, and remember, it's gametime.co, not .com. We appreciate you for tuning in to Locked On Bucks, making us that first listen. Make sure you also check out the Everydayer Club. The link is in the description. You will get Locked On Bucks with no interruptions. Plus, there's a members-only Discord, not just the Bucks channel, but just all of the Locked On channels. So make sure you check that out. $5 a month or $50 a year. Again, check the link in the show notes to learn more. Frank, I mentioned other key contributors to this game. Had to start, of course, with Kevin Porter Jr. and Ryan Rollins and Jericho Sims, which if you would have told me months ago, like I'd be including Jericho Sims in like that key contributors part, I'd have been like, wait, what happened? Really, Jericho Sims? But he has really been hooping over the last 10 to 15 games at this point. But I mentioned all of the starters for the Bucks finished with double-digit scoring. You had Kyle Kuzma with 17 points. You had Myles Turner with 15 points. And you had AJ Green with 15 points. That man did not take a shot in the whole first half yesterday. He made like 4 threes in the first half of this game. Plus, you had Bobby Portis off the bench with 10 points of his own. Who else stood out to you, Frank, in this game that you were like, hey, I really enjoyed their contributions to the game and to the Bucks' victory tonight?
Well, Kyle Kuzma has had 2 very solid games here back to back. We often pointed out that usually when Kuz has a very good game, there's often a very anonymous game right thereafter. And yesterday against the Heat, I was watching that game. We met out some friends up for dinner, so I was watching on DVR. Didn't know what happened in it, so I started about 2 hours after. The only thing I saw was in one of my group chats, someone messaged. Let me go. Well, it'll probably take too much to find it. But someone messaged like, "God, I hate Kuzma" or something like that. Like this frustration with Kuz, and I'm just like, "Oh boy, what am I in for here?" And I turn on the game and I'm watching the game. He's just like making shots. He scored like 6 points right away. Then he hits a three, and I'm just like, wait, what happened? That pissed off my friend. What did Kyle Kuzma do wrong? And he played a good game last night.
Maybe that's the frustration of like, what can we do this consistently?
Well, he had a couple like record scratch shots, which I think especially since Giannis has been out. Actually, right before Giannis went out, Kyle, I think Doc even referenced it in one of the press conferences that he just was like, we're just telling him like just put it up. So tonight 5 threes, which
he shot 10 of them.
And I can't remember if Lisa said that was like
that ties a season high for him.
Season high at least, yeah.
I believe his career high is 8 made threes in a game.
Yeah. So I mean, anytime Kuz is hitting threes at that rate, obviously, like your offense is probably going to be pretty good because he's obviously a guy that teams will, concede that shot to a bit. So yeah, I mean, Kuz just making shots, anytime, given the kind of consistency questions that he has, I think certainly him kind of hitting a bunch of shots, you obviously want to take advantage of. And yeah, but again, like 9-man rotation, kind of guys we usually expect. And I think again, like stuff's gonna wax and wane. I mean, Ousmane Dieng hit a tough step back three, but he was only 1 out of 6 at -12 in 13 minutes. Cam Thomas only 6 shots in 16 minutes, 7 points, -13. Like I think that's the reality of kind of probably what this kind of 3-guard group of Cam, Rollins, and KPJ are going to be like. I think you hope that you get 2 of them really playing at a high level any given night, and then you can kind of ride those 2 guys. And certainly just given kind of the fact that Rollins and KPJ are better playmakers and better defensive players, like, all things being equal, I'd rather have those guys in late and relying on those guys. So, Cam kind of becomes a bit more of like a wild card. I think maybe I know on Twitter there were some questions about his body language.
Yeah, when he got pulled out.
And, I think there's some Cam Thomas, fanboy Twitter accounts that now pop up occasionally that, get frustrated when he doesn't play a lot or whatever it is. But, like this is, I think, what you have to do with him. Like, he's not, I mean, again, like Cam Thomas may not want to believe that he's not like an NBA starter, run the offense through him type of guy. But I mean, I said this before they acquired him, like I'll take KPJ and Rollins over him any day because of that well-roundedness that they bring. But obviously we've seen it, like Orlando, Cam can be absolute dynamite when he's on one. So he ends up being kind of that, off the bench wild card guy. So like on a night like tonight, you didn't need him. So, why rely on him too much when those other guys are playing well and obviously kind of give you more, kind of an overall game. So, yeah, I mean, I think it was really about, I think the 3 guys we highlighted, were kind of the big stories. Turner, 15 points on 9 shots. He was a plus. Sims was a minus. So like we know that I think a lot of folks have noticed like the on-off stats are pretty stark over the last month between those 2 guys. Sims has been the guy when good things have generally been happening. But tonight I thought Turner actually was fine, although I think at this point there's a lot of frustration, just given sort of the elevated expectations. But I think it also just sort of highlights like no Giannis is like the perfect time to lean on Sims more because he's not clogging up the floor for Giannis. I don't think you can play him with Giannis. Turner obviously becomes way more important with Giannis. Turner and Bobby obviously are guys you like to play with Giannis just because of the floor spacing and the gravity that Giannis has. So, it's sort of one of those things like play it as it lies. Like if he's playing well, I think there's the rim rolling is easier for him. He's been contributing with offensive rebounding more so than early in the season. He's been doing a good job on the defensive glass too, which obviously, is another like area of contrast with Myles, who obviously oftentimes struggles with defensive rebounding. So that plus, I think the reason why we saw him late is because he's the best switch defender of the Bucks bigs.
Yep.
So, you can he's the easiest guy to sort of plug and play and just say, okay, we're switching everything. And late in games, like obviously that can be very appealing where teams are trying to attack mismatches, et cetera. So, yeah, this is about, I think, as good as you can probably expect to get from him. He's going to have the illegal screen, like one or two
One a
illegal
game at
screens every
least.
game. He's going to have like the miscommunication pass he throws out of bounds, which he did that tonight as well. I think he has probably the highest turnover rate on the team because he barely takes any shots, but he turns the ball over with these off ball. Like he's not like trying to do a lot with the ball, but setting screens illegally is a turnover. So, but obviously he's given them a nice shot in the arm. It's not like he's anchoring the defense or something, but I think he's been kind of a stabilizing force, especially off the bench. Right, it's nice to have a guy that gives you a little bit of a different dimension. So, yeah, we'll see. I mean, still unclear yet. Doc gave very much a I don't want to give an answer on Giannis type of response before the game.
I just laughed when I saw his response to
Yeah,
Eric. I don't know.
I don't know if you got it in front of you, but it was like just very much playing dumb. It's just like Doc. It's like he hadn't even thought about trying to figure out when Giannis Antetokounmpo might return to play basketball for his basketball team. Oh, I don't know. I haven't asked. Why would I care about that?
So that answer was just crazy to me. But here's the thing. We haven't actually had a chance to talk in a while. This is our first time doing a pod in some time. And I mentioned at the top is it time to believe in the Bucks? And believe can mean a lot of different things to different people. I'll explain what I mean by it and also get your take on, is this a Bucks team to start believing in at this point right after this? But first, a word from our friends over at Indeed, because listen, workplace chaos, deadline stacking up, your inbox overflowing, and the one position you have to fill still sitting open. When the pressure is on and you need the right hire, this is the job for sponsored jobs. Indeed Sponsored Jobs helps you reach the people who actually fit what you're looking for: skills, experience, location. So you're not just hoping the right candidate stumbles across your post. And here's a stat that says it all. In the minute I've been talking to you, companies like yours made 27 hires on Indeed, according to Indeed data worldwide. So if you're hiring, spend less time searching and more time interviewing candidates who check all your boxes with Indeed Sponsored Jobs. Spend less time searching and more time actually interviewing, because with less stress and less time, you can get more results. When you need the right person to cut through the chaos, this is a job for Indeed Sponsored Jobs. Listeners of this show will get a $75 sponsored job credit to help you get your job the premium status it deserves at Indeed.com/podcast. Just go to Indeed.com/podcast right now and support our show by saying you heard about Indeed on this show. Indeed.com/podcast. Terms and conditions apply. Need to hire? This is a job for Indeed Sponsored Jobs. All right, Frank, belief in the Bucks. The Bucks are winners of 8 of their last 10 games now. They are currently 26-31, sitting at the 11th seed in the Eastern Conference, but they are tied in the loss column with the 10-seeded Charlotte Hornets and the 9-seeded Atlanta Hawks. When I say believe, believe in the Bucks, I am not talking like championship aspirations. That we ain't talking about that. At this point, it feels as if the motto, the memo, the statement, what they're trying to do right now is make it into the play-in. They're trying to find a way just to get into the dance. And what they've shown me over the last few weeks, especially without Giannis in the lineup, with how poorly they have looked this season prior to this stretch without Giannis in the lineup, it does give me some hope that this is a team that is figuring things out. I do have some questions about how the adjustment might look when Giannis does come back in the lineup, with Kevin Porter Jr. and Ryan Rollins really being more ball dominant in this time period. But I'm starting to feel as if the Bucks will be able to punch that play-in ticket. I know there are going to be some people out there saying that's the worst thing possible. They should tank, so on and so forth. But the reality is the Bucks aren't going to catch anybody below 7 or 8 right now in that tank race. Might as well just go for it. Maybe get some playoff experience. would love to see Kevin Porter Jr. get at least a shot at that after having a subpar effort in it last year, although he did kind of look better the last few games. But just the experience of it, I think, could be beneficial to some of the young guys on this team. But Frank, where are you at with the Bucks in this play-in chase? Are you believing that they can finish this season a top 10 seed in the East? Which who would have thought when the season started we'd be here, but here we are, Frank. Here we are.
Yeah, I mean, look, the teams below you are the Chicago Bulls, Washington Wizards, Brooklyn Nets, and Indiana Pacers. So belief is definitely a relative concept. Certainly the Hawk, the interest of the Hawks in competing for a playoff seed can certainly be questioned at this point with, the moves that they made. The Hornets have been obviously like a really good story.
Yeah.
But interesting, I mean, they're worse over the last 10 games than the Bucks. So the Bucks are obviously 8-2, Hornets are 7-3. And as you mentioned, Bucks 2 back in the win column, but even on losses with the Hornets in the 10th seed and the Hawks in the 9 seed. So between that and Miami at 31-28 and Orlando at 31-26, Orlando kind of also not, setting the world on fire. Phillies at 32-26. I mean, again, the season we're starting to get like obviously are a little ways into the season now. We're getting close to roughly at that kind of 2/3 mark of the season. So yeah, the clock is starting to tick obviously a bit. You've got 25 games left after tonight. They have to go, for the record, they have to go 17-8 to reach my seemingly modest 43 win target that I had before the season. So that will probably be difficult. Although certainly they've
Who
been
knows,
on
Frank,
that
with the way they
pace.
play it.
With their play, you never know. So I mean, I think it's encouraging. They're looking frisky. I just think of it, Camille, like people are going to these Bucks games. Bucks are now 14-13 at home. To me,
Finally
that's
winning
like the
record at home.
biggest. That's like the biggest frustration to me is like how many games they lost at home that they should have won, and that they really kind of pissed away, and that if they just cash in probably 2 or 3 like very winnable games, like the Denver game, just like some of these games are just like, oh my goodness,
The
right?
Philly game.
Yeah, I mean, just if you just look at some of the games that they lost, right? I mean, it's easy to say this, right? I mean, like tonight, like, well, they could have lost that game, so it cuts both ways, but I think it's reasonable to look at where they are and say like, man, if they had just turned 3 losses into wins, right? If you could be 29-28 and you're over 500, then then you got the Magic and Hawks like in your sights, and you're actually like feeling better about the chances of actually getting a playoff seed, and then whatever, like not like I'm gonna say anybody's gonna favor them in the first round playoff series, but like the mountain is at least like not quite as absurd to climb. So we'll see. I mean, I think again, like Camille, we podcast after every one of 82 games.
Yep.
I know we prefer to do it when they're winning and the vibes are not horrible. I think the vibes obviously kind of bottomed out right around, that Denver loss and that immediate aftermath with Giannis getting injured and the trade rumors and all that. But I can't remember if I brought this up with you or Justin, but my parenting advice that I once heard somebody give me is, if your kid wants to quit a sport, tell them quit on a good day, right? Don't quit when you had a bad game, you lost, or you had a frustrating experience in your swim class or wherever the heck it might be. When you've actually had a good day and things have actually been okay, and you still don't want to do that thing, okay, then you can quit it, right? Do something else. And I think with the Bucks, right, like people were kind of quitting the Bucks at their, when things were obviously like at their absolute worst. Everything seemed to be going wrong, and I get it. Everybody was frustrated. But again, things flip so quickly in the NBA. We've seen it time and again, right? Remember the Clippers had their 15-3 stretch or whatever it is. Like teams go on runs. The Pacers last year, right, had a losing record like almost halfway through the season and then go to the finals. We're not expecting that at this point, but if they can, I think the most important thing is like, have they actually learned from the issues they had earlier in the season? Are they actually beginning to solve some of those problems? I think we did see progress in a number of respects, like the rebounding stuff. The 5 of 6 wins they had going into the All-Star break, they were They out-rebounded their opponents in 5 of 6 games. The wins, they out-rebounded them. The one loss, they did not. I think there's been some better trends on like fouling and some of those other things for quite a while now. Defensive rebounding, again, had been doing better. But I will say, I mean, like, you look at what they did post All-Star break, Pelicans game, they played basically no defense. They gave up a bajillion paint points and basically just outscored them. The Heat game obviously like was very up and down. Give them credit. They defended down the stretch and made plays and, win by 10 plus. By the way, I felt like Bam Adebayo had like a crazy shooting night, and I looked at the box
did
score.
not.
He was 8 for 19 and 2 for 8 from 3 and had 18 points on 19 shots. I was like, what? Really? It felt like he made a bunch of shots. Anyway, so I mean, I think this team should be at least frisky without Giannis. I think the schedule has obviously worked out pretty well for them. You get OKC weakened, albeit that's still a weakened OKC is still a team that just on its infrastructure alone tends to beat up teams like the Bucks. So winning that game, I think, was impressive, especially by the way that, in by its commanding a margin as they did. Obviously this game, we beat a 37-23 team. Yeah, well, they were missing a bunch of guys. But look,
Bucks have lost those games early in the season.
Exactly. They've had lots of games like this where they lost. So I'm gonna take it. I'm gonna be happy that fans that paid a ton of money to go see these games,
I know that's
many
right.
of whom probably bought these tickets thinking they were going to see Giannis, and they're seeing a different version of the Bucks, but at least they're seeing a fun version of the Bucks that's putting on a good show and giving them something to be excited about. And the energy is positive. And even if, defensively, I still have concerns. And tonight the rebounding was problematic again, a bit of throwback to early in the season. Again, like you can't be, again, getting too picky, I think, with where they are about how they're winning. And I think obviously the big question now is just, how quickly can you get Giannis back? And then when he is back, can you sort of bottle what you've figured out without him and reintegrate him in a way where you actually take advantage of some of the positive vibes and then not like just get super weird again like they did before he got hurt. And I don't know, Camille, I've seen some just like, I think as fans, like, especially, I mean, it's like, this is why we probably shouldn't use Twitter because people just get high on their own supply. Like I won't say who it was, somebody, and I'm sure I almost made a joke of it early in the game about how, somewhere someone is like talking themselves into like, oh, we should trade Giannis and, build around the young guys and Jericho Sims in the middle or whatever. And then sure enough, after a game I saw, I think Nathan Marzian quote tweeted somebody who was basically saying like, I'm worried about when Giannis comes back. Like, probably this is why they probably should just trade him and Turner. It's like,
we don't have to do this,
guys.
We don't have to do this.
Like, I mean, I don't know how many, times you have to fart in a paper bag and smell it to start to like tweet out this sort of stuff. But, like, just come up for air, come up for air. The weather's, I don't know. Has the weather been better in Milwaukee? It was 80 degrees in Austin, Texas today. So
it was good for like a week, but that was just fall, spring. We're currently in second winter right now.
So, anyway, sorry to rub it in there, with my temperatures here down in the South, but, like, let's appreciate this for what it was. They beat up on some bad teams. They got a couple of pretty solid wins in there. It's good, but it's not anything that you can, extrapolate to play the 7th seed or something like that. So
that'll do it for today's show. So make sure you subscribe and you follow the pod wherever you can. Again, check out the Everydayer Club. Get the podcast ad-free, join the members only Discord, head to the link in the description to learn more. For those of you on video, we'll send you over to the first ever 24/7 national NBA YouTube channel. On the audio side of things, make sure you make that second listen. NBA Game Night on Locked On NBA. Truly do appreciate you for tuning in to Locked On Bucks. For Frank and myself, we'll catch you later.